Hey, good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about using flipped instruction to create interactive learning communities. My name is Heather Parris, and I am from the Long Island Regional Bilingual Education Resource Network. And if you're like me, you've been working hard to create lessons and activities for your students in our new remote learning environment. And I'm here to tell you that flipped instruction is a great way to engage your learners, whether you are with them in a classroom or if you are working, um, obviously, in a remote learning environment like we're facing today. So let me show you why I love flipped learning. Well, the flipped classroom started several years ago, and I think you may have heard the term already. And the traditional model involved a screencast tutorial, a video that was created by the teacher, basically the lecture, that would be viewed at home by the student. And then the next day, when the students come to class, they get going to work right away on an interactive student-centered activity to reinforce what they had learned while watching the teacher's video. And since then, it's evolved into a lot of other um, variations of that, and it can happen in remote learning environments, and you don't need a building to do flipped learning. However, uh, we hope we'll all be back together sometime in the near future. So here's the definition of flipped learning. Flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment where the educator guides students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. So, like I said, essentially the essence of flipped learning is creating more time for students to interact and engage together on a learning task, inquiry-based learning task. And the teacher then facilitates and monitors student progress, assesses, gives feedback, but really it's an exciting way to transform the work that you've been doing with your students. So flipped learning has 4 pillars, and here they are: flexible environment, learning culture, intentional content, and professional educator. And you could read more about the specifics of these 4 pillars if you visit the Flip Learning Network. So here are 10 reasons to use flipped learning with your students. Flipped learning provides multiple modalities for learning, it increases student interaction, it addresses all 6 literacy skills, and I'll talk about that in a moment. It provides multimedia support for content, and this is really critical for our ELLs. We know that the multiple modalities and the multimedia support are going to allow our ELLs to access language and to access content, to get a lot of practice with language and to be able to understand better the content that teachers are trying to convey. It allows us to differentiate instruction for our ELLs. We can create little mini tutorials, little mini screencasts that address the particular language needs of our students. We can do them in multiple languages and support them in that way. It also allows for asynchronous instruction, which is something that we're experiencing right now. And it gives us more time for visible learning when we're working synchronously. So even if we are in breakout groups online, we can go from room to room and actually see the students working on a task and understand where their needs are as we assess the work that they're doing. And it gives us more time for teacher feedback because we spend less time lecturing. Obviously promotes self-directed learning and increases opportunity to use target language in context. So, flipped learning supports all 6 literacy skills. And you can see on this chart that We have our receptive skills, listening, reading, and viewing, and our expressive skills, speaking, writing, and visually representing. And the International Literacy Association, many years ago, had determined that viewing and visually representing are literacy skills that should be taught explicitly. And while we're engaging our students in a project-based learning assignment, an inquiry-based learning assignment, they can use a lot of different digital resources to enhance their learning process. Here are some that help ELLs build their language skills, get a lot of practice demonstrating mastery of content. For example, even something as simple as Voice Record Pro would allow them to record a podcast and practice their English skills, practice their home language skills, and there's so many good ones here. I don't know where to start. Other ones that I love for collaboration are Quizlet, so the kids can work together online. This is a great one for now when we're not together, where they can practice their skills using Quizlet. They can create their own screencasts using something like Educreations to demonstrate their knowledge of a topic. And I think you're familiar with Flipgrid. Bitsport is a great vocabulary tool to reinforce language for our ELLs. And Nearpod allows the teachers and students to interact in a lot of different ways, really strong app. And they have an ELL library of resources too. I could go on, but here are just some of the digital resources that you can explore on your own. So I'm going to show you a little something that I did in Flipgrid with my colleague, Guy Vaccaro. We were working with students for the Puerto Rican Hispanic Youth Leadership Institute, and we decided, since they had to do a campaign and get elected for certain roles, we had a little campaign activity where they would do a sample campaign speech, and then students would vote. This was, we worked in Google Classroom with the kids. They came from multiple districts, so we were not together all the time. And this was a wonderful way for them to reach out and have their little campaign speech. And it was very well received. So this is Flipgrid. There's so many different ways you can use it. So that is something definitely worth exploring. So here are two more examples of digital platforms that help with flipped instruction. I'm going to play for you a little Seesaw, a clip that was posted in Seesaw, and Seesaw is a great tool for pushing out information to students and also curating their work. It becomes a portfolio of sorts for students. And they love to record and upload and demonstrate what they know and do. And it's great for elementary students, as K1, 2 can even use it. So this is a little example of a a grade 3 literacy lesson for ELLs. Oh, let me go back. It's not connected. All right. I'll have to play that for you later. So basically, I read it aloud to the students, and they practice reading and reciting a limerick and then writing their own. And for the older grades, I used Edpuzzle, and Edpuzzle has a whole Khan Academy library to choose from, and you know, TED Talks and obviously YouTube videos that you can pull in and embed questions into. So here was a reading activity for an older students, you know, I'd say, you know, 8 through 12. reciting the letter from a Birmingham jail and then asking them embedded questions about it. So when you are designing your own flipped instruction, here are 4 key questions to ask yourself. What to move out of class, what to put into class, and why. And so for our context, what we're moving out of class are the items like directions for tasks, lectures on a topic, and what to put into class would be the interactive, engaging activities, the creation that we want the kids to engage in. But make sure you know why you're doing it. Okay, and you want to ask yourself how to maximize interaction and differentiation, how to maximize comprehension and retention, and how to build in accountability and feedback, very important. So, all the while, we want to be cognizant of the fact that we have to support our linguistically diverse learners. And we do this by building background knowledge, using multi-level text and bilingual resources, using tiered vocabulary, and incorporating activities that scaffold academic conversation in the target language, providing sentence frames and starters, obviously graphic organizers, and modifying assessments, to meet the needs of the students, and so that you get an accurate reflection of their mastery. And of course, publish work in multiple languages. So here's a little overview of the nuts and bolts of flipped learning. If it's your first time working with flipped learning, these are the essential elements for creating a screencast. You need a presentation tool. So I had a Google slide presentation that I actually downloaded and used as PowerPoint. But anyway, you get it. You have a PowerPoint, a Google slide, a keynote. You need a screencasting tool. I'm using QuickTime. You can use Screencast-O-Matic. You can use Screencastify, explain everything. You can use Zoom and record it as a meeting and save it. And then you need a place to post it. And most of you have an LMS like Google Classroom or Canvas or Schoology. You can even have a YouTube channel of your own where you can have all these videos available for your students to view. And the last thing is to have some interactive tools. I talked about Flipgrid, I talked about Edpuzzle, and another great interactive video platform is PlayPosit. So if you want to learn more about flipped learning, you can visit the Flipped Learning Network at fliplearning.org, or the Flipped Learning Global Initiative, which is really exciting to be working globally with others around the world. Here's some references for all the reading time that you have. And if you have any questions, you can email me. My email is at the beginning of this presentation. And I hope that you enjoy exploring flipped learning.